Hello, friend. Today I want to talk to you about luck. And the reason why I've chosen this topic is because I believe this is one of the least talked about subjects, especially in the Western world. I mean, you often hear people mentioning, I was lucky, or I was unlucky, or she was lucky, or he wasn't unlucky, and so forth. But it doesn't seem to me like people think about these subjects or this particular subject in depth. First, I want to start with this short story that I heard from my father. My father was an entrepreneur, and there was this guy that he worked with. And that guy was essentially the definition of a business magnet. And according to my father, the thing about that guy was opportunities normally come to him. Like he doesn't even have to look for opportunities. That's what I meant by saying, like, the definition of a business magnet. So like he'd be just sitting and then people would approach him or ideas will just come to him through people. And that's one of the things that made me think about luck. And I've been thinking about this subject for probably years. First, let's start by defining luck. What is luck? I mean, if I were to ask you right now, how would you define luck? To me, luck is simply being at the right place at the right time, or the lack of. Sometimes being lucky means that you have to not be in one place or not be in one place in one time. But essentially, that's the same thing. That is being at the right place at the right time. So, what do I mean by that? Being at the right place at the right time. Being at the right place is kind of simple, it's just straightforward. It just means being at the right location where something good can happen to you. Now, being at the right time, that's a bit more tricky because we're not exactly talking about being like at the right time of the day. I mean, that's included. But also, it means being in the right situation, essentially being ready for that opportunity. Another example that I would like to mention was something that one of my business professors was saying one time. And he told us that we need to have an elevator pitch about our business ideas at all times. Like we need to practice it, we need to refine it, we need to just have the perfect elevator pitch with us in our minds or in our pockets at all times because he said you never know who you're going to meet. So if you meet someone, like let's say you're walking on the street and you just meet Elon Musk or someone like that, do you even know what you're going to say to them? Or are you even going to say anything to them? So, what I mean by being at the right place at the right time is not just being where the opportunity is, but being ready to utilize this opportunity, having enough wisdom and have enough readiness to take action when that opportunity comes in. To me, there are different types of luck. So, for example, some people are lucky the traditional way that we know. They essentially get opportunities wherever they go. Other people are lucky in a different way. Some people have this thing that I would like to call survival luck. And that means not being in situations where bad things can happen to them. So being lucky does not necessarily mean just being in a place where good things can happen to you. It can also mean being in a place where bad things will not happen to you, which essentially means the same thing. If you're in a place or if you're not in a place, if you're lucky, your luck will determine whichever way it goes. Now, someone might come in and say, well, luck is essentially a matter of statistics. I mean, some people are born with kind of like they have like the right set of statistics, and sometimes they are lucky and they get something good happening to them, sometimes they're not. But it's not really that simple, is it? Because I think we all know someone or some people who are significantly more lucky than others. Even as a kid, I've noticed that whenever you're playing game like with a game with dice, some people are more lucky with dice than other ones. And you might argue, well, some people they just know how to throw the dice. Yeah, but that's not always the case. Most of the time you'll see them, they're just acting normally, but they just seem more lucky. Or with cards, if you're playing card games. Some people have a tendency to get more winning cards than losing ones, even when there's no cheating involved. So it's not just a matter of statistics. Next, does luck have influences? Are there things that can influence your luck? A study has been conducted showing that people who have good looks make more money than people who have average or especially below average looks. And one might come to a quick conclusion saying, yeah, I mean, that's kind of obvious. People who are good looking, they just attract more people. But according to the study, when they investigated, that was not the case. But the case was that good looking people tend to be more confident about themselves and tend to pursue higher opportunities than people who do not believe that they're good looking. But if we go back to the root situation, some people are better looking than others. Some people are born that way. If you look around, sometimes you just meet people who just have the right proportions of everything. Like their eyes look perfect, their nose looks perfect, their ears, just everything about them looks perfect. One of the things my mother used to say is that, as a joke, she would say that when God is in a good mood, he would just take really good care of creating that human being and kind of like carves it carefully. But when he's in a bad mood, he would just make them like real quick and just throw them, kind of like mass production, if you will. So why is it that some people have better looks than others? Why is it that some people are born in better places than others? Again, you might just blame it on statistics. But if you observe really carefully, you're going to notice that there is something more to it. Because some people are more lucky than others. So now you might say, well, there is no such thing as luck. It's all about effort. The more effort you exert, the more reward you get. But is that so? Because I think everybody knows someone who doesn't put a lot of effort, but tends to get a really big high reward. And I know some of us like to think, yeah, but you only see the results. You don't see the effort that's been into that. Yes, that's true. Some people put a lot of effort and they get a lot of reward for it. But others get the same reward for not putting that much effort. And I experienced that myself. I have my own accomplishments, and some of them were really notable, really good. However, if I look at the effort that I put compared with the effort that someone else has put, you'll notice that some people get the same or even a better result than you without even having to put the same kind of effort. So, why is that? What causes that? Now, does this mean that you should not put effort into what you want? No, not at all. Because let me tell you one thing, I always get what I want. Every time I set my mind on something and I put my focus in it, eventually I get it. But the question is how much effort I have to put in it in order to get it. Lastly, I want to end by trying to figure out the answer to the question, like, should I even bother doing anything? And I think what you do will depend on the reward that you get in ratio to the effort that you have to put in it. So anytime you are doing something, especially if it's like a big task, just think about how much effort you expect to put in ratio to the reward that you're going to get out of this thing. And ask yourself, is it worth it? And only you can answer that. This is not something that you can quantify. This is something only you know the answer to. Is it worth it to you that you have to put in this kind of effort in order to get something? Now, does this mean it's always going to be the same? No. So how do you know how much effort? How do you estimate? Normally, I'd estimate based on my previous experiences trying to do, similar things. And if it's something new, something that I have not attempted before, then I would try to imagine the best possible outcome and then the worst possible outcome. And then I would average that. And then I would do the same thing to the effort. I would get the highest amount of effort and the lowest amount, and I would average that. And then compare the two averages and see if it's worth it to me. And then I would decide whether this is something that I would do or not. So in the end, does luck exist? And to my experience, yes, definitely. Now, does this mean that effort doesn't work? No. Effort usually works. Not all the time, but usually, yes, effort does work. It's just a matter of ratio, like I said. How much effort you put over the reward that you're going to receive. With that being said, thank you for watching.